So for this video, I just want to have a freestyle talk about what Gen Z can do to improve their circumstances within the animation industry, and what I'm sort of doing for myself as well, which is starting this YouTube channel. And I think the best way to tackle it would be to work on building your own sort of digital online brand instead of fully relying on all of the traditional studio infrastructure. You also need to start building your own infrastructure and your own systems, and also your own brand, and also your own identity and your own style of doing things, instead of just fully just accepting what the is the considered the mainstream or the industry standard, quote unquote industry standard. You can also take a step back and look at it and say, okay, this is the route that traditionally everyone recommends you need to go through in order to do make it in the animation industry. But if you realistically think about it, you have to go through a lot of different job applications, and you have to apply for jobs, and sometimes those jobs are just ghost jobs, or you never get a response back, or you just never hit and nothing ever comes of it. And you have to realistically, in order to get some sort of result majority of the time, unless you have previous connections or you have a very strong portfolio. But even then, even if you have a very strong portfolio, there's been cases where I've seen where still people with very strong portfolios have not gotten jobs at all, despite having the skill set for it. So it's also a little, I'd say 30%, maybe 30% in portfolio, and then a good portion of it is also networking. Well, at least from white, it's not just all about portfolio. So even in those cases, at the time you invest in trying to do all these different job applications, you could also be using that time instead just to build your own personal brand. And then when you build your own personal brand, it's on your terms, and it's not on fully the industry regulations and stuff. So you have more creative control over what you do, what you create, how you want to sort of creatively express yourself. And that's what I did also manage to just watch a video the other day of another YouTuber who's talking about and saying similar things to what I'm saying as well in this video. And he was talking about that the time he spent he said he spent a year or something, and I think by then he had 200 or so videos or something like that. But by that time he was getting maybe a few hundred to 1,000 views per video. But over time he was also talking about his Instagram as well, he was getting a few hundred to 1,000 over a year. But by that time he had also networked and connected with other like-minded people as well because of it. So it's then that's time he used, instead of just applying to job applications, just spending his energy on fully focusing on that. So he just had to just try to show up and try to produce as much things that are of your interest. So if you're interested in graphic design, for example, you could start producing graphic design content and uploading it onto YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. And by that time, the time you'd have spent trying to apply to graphic design jobs, you'd have more going for you instead, on your own terms, by having a portfolio or body of work that's your own online. So, and with that, once you have your own personal brand and your own portfolio of work, you can also then start selling other things alongside it or after it as well. So it allows you to open other avenues and doors that just taking the recommended just simple studio path wouldn't really fully fulfill. And I think there's that element of creative satisfaction. You can get paid, but are you really creatively satisfied in what you're making, and are you really enjoying the process? Because with me, when I do creative works, I also really enjoy the process, teaching myself game development and teaching myself the Godot game engine. I really enjoyed the process of just learning that whole entire thing as well. At first, oh, what is all this UI? What does all this UI do? And I had no idea. And I was clicking through menus and getting lost. And it's like, oh, and then once eventually it starts to click with you, then you know, okay, if I want to resize something, I have relative to this, I'll have to do this. If I want to add text elements, this is the node I need to use, and I do A, B, C, D, E. And if I want to, like, I can maybe design this thing as a, like the health bar is its own separate scene, and then import that health bar scene into a larger scene with the character in it. So like you learn the pipeline and the systems of that engine over time, and that was very fun. Like getting to experience that learning curve of going through like the Gola engine, and just like there's that sort of satisfaction that you get from it, that where say if somebody just says, oh, you have to learn, for example, let's say you have to learn like a specific font making software, but you're not really too interested or deep into passionate into making fonts, it's not going to be as fun for you or as satisfying for you to do. It's going to feel more like homework or more like a chore than if it's all like, it's safe. Then rather you're working for you're working on your own video game, and then you decide, oh, what would be a cool idea for this video game is if it had like its own custom fonts or like fonts for specific scenes. So then you're more passionate to want to learn how to use font making software, if that makes sense, like to like in the way I'm explaining it, than rather just somebody just like saying you have to do this because we have deadlines to meet and we need you to be up to this standard, whereas you are the one initially taking a step. Oh, I'm curious about font makings, let me teach myself, let me learn, I want to learn, because you're coming at it from a completely different creative angle than if you were just purely as a, okay, I need to get this done just as a task. So that's one of the benefits, I think, definitely, for why I recommend people start their own projects, creating their own IPs and ideas, just getting it out there into the world. Like even with like how I approach like this YouTube channel, it's like I get a level of satisfaction of just doing my own thing on this YouTube channel and not really having to follow any strict guidelines or creative like demands, especially like from like super high studio structure systems where you're like, oh. But also it allows me to also a chance to improve as well, because I also want to eventually get into doing more learning content, because I also really do love and enjoy learning new things. So hopefully I can also take you guys on my learning journey as I'm learning new software, new techniques, new art skills, new just generally things that just improve me. Like even just like I can take you guys along that journey as well with me, because even when I first I've already posted a few videos on the channel so far, but I've also started to go back over the Blender basics. I had dabbled a bit in Blender because of like for the video game I'm working on, and I thought, okay, I need to learn Blender. But then I figured if I want to actually really get to a level of a more like efficient mastery of Blender, it's better to go back over the basics, because sometimes that's what artists do. Like you get to a point where you're like, okay, I've tried dabbling around this art thing for a while, let me go back and learn the basics, fundamental, the foundations, take life drawing lessons, learn about shape, form, color and stuff like that, and go and re-revise, re-remember, re-go over the basics. So then when you go back to doing your craft or like your art and your creative projects, you can then like approach it with a fresh mind and fresh new skills, and you'll be able to improve a lot better than had you not gone back over the fundamentals. And especially if you suffer sometimes from art block, it's a good thing to do is also go back over learning some of the fundamental things. Or if you get stuck like on where to take a project, like take the time to go back over fundamentals, go look at reference other art pieces that inspire you, and just take that time to relearn like what it is you want to achieve. But yeah, I just want to have a small little chat with you guys about why Gen Z should ideally start building their own personal brands and stop relying as much on like the studio infrastructure, because as we've seen recently, it's not as sustainable as we were told it was initially going to be. But yeah, no, it's something I'd recommend. And that's all I really have to say for now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I would appreciate if you can leave a comment down below. Bye.